This is Comics Coast to Coast.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Dunaway, and you're listening to Comics Coast to Coast, episode 332, the Derek Laufman Part 3 interview. Before we talk to Derek, let's invite Joel Duggan of Starcrossed Online and Forge Publishing. Joel!
That's me. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Ooh, I am fantastic. I am excited about having our return guest. He's always a good and a fun times. I want to thank you for all these great political cartoons you've either been sending to me via the postal mail, which we got and we talked about last time, but then you sent me some more through the Facebook Messenger, and we talked about it pre-show, and I'm enjoying it. Are you going through like some kind of political art crisis thing or something, or just kind of hitting you in the right spot?
So here's the thing. I've culled down my Facebook. I've done a lot of blocking and a lot of muting for 30 days because of all the political nonsense that happens on Facebook. And as a result, what I'm getting is a lot of art, a lot of cartoonists, and stuff like that kind of cropping to the top of the feed, which is good. That's kind of what I want.
Yeah.
But what it also means is that I still do get some politics, but I get it in the form of political cartoons. And I have refused to comment on social media about politics. It's too divisive for me. And I just don't, it's too negative. I don't want to get into it. However, I will not shy away from sharing a political cartoon that is just spot on. So,
I agree.
Theo Madakis, I shared this last night on Citadel Cafe, but he did a cartoon for the Toronto Star, I believe, and it's a great response to Trump's comments about Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister. And everybody just go look it up. I'm not going to just go look at the eye candy and enjoy it. And also, I mean, I sent Brian that book by Bruce McKinnon a couple weeks ago, and look Bruce's work up too, because if you want somebody that's got some spot-on cartoons about Trump as well, McKinnon is also knocking it out of the park.
Look, politics are hard to take in its current form. It is always best to have it filtered through the eyes of comedy, if you ask me. For your sanity, maybe not for the most accurate portrayal, but certainly your sanity. Thanks for that, Joel. Also with us is Matthew Ducharme. Matt!
Hey there.
I missed you. You were here last week, but we were so talky, I'm not getting to hear you say the words, and that made me a little sad. You only came in at the very last second. So I know Derek is a great conversationalist, but I'm expecting nothing from you, really.
I might cough a few times. I'll chuckle here.
There you go. Please chuckle. Usual. Without the chuckles, what's the point? Okay,
we could all just start ending sentences with like Matt ?
Matt?
Just like no matter what we say, just Matt. Invite Matt.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough. That's enough talking to the guys. Let's get over here and talk to practically a fourth. He's like a fourth. He's like a fourth guest guy, right? Right. Derek Laufman is back with us. Derek, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You know why we're back so often? I mean, we just had him on like episode, I think last was like 299. So that was
a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago. A little bit over a year, because it was May the 4th. Oh, look, you're right. So we've had
over Star Wars.
Yeah, over Star Wars. So it looks like every year about May, or we've creeped into June this time. That's when we get our Derek love. So I'll take it when I can get it.
See you guys next year.
Right, see you next year. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Derek's artwork, you should be. It's DerekLaufman.com if you want to go check out the website. Derek is DerekLaufman.com. Spell it. Go enjoy it. It's fantastic. Follow Derek on Twitter. I believe your Twitter handle is just Laufman, right?
Yes.
Excellent. You have a fairly decent sized Twitter followers, around 11K. That's pretty bad. Good. That's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I also enjoy following you and seeing all the things you're doing. And we're going to talk about some of those things here just in a minute or two. Derek, it has been a year. We've picked up a few new listeners since then. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I am primarily a freelance artist. I design toys for Hasbro and Mattel. Let's see. I I do design work for Marvel. I designed their superhero adventures line, their new toddler line. That started about 2 years ago, I guess. I'm about in my second year doing that. And that stuff's starting to pop up on toys and like Lego boxes and different things like that. And Target has kids' clothes that I'm buying for my children because that's cool. For
right,
some reason
but not at Toys R Us. Everybody bow their head for just a minute. A moment of silence for Toys R Us. So, Derek, I think last time you were here, I'm trying to remember, there was some secretive things you couldn't tell us about, and I'm wondering if they've come out yet. I was trying to remember what we were talking about.
You know what? It might have been Mighty Mugs.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, the new Mighty Mugs line. I was heavily involved in the design of that line, so that has come out now. So that's pretty cool. Yes. So I even have my artwork on the faces. So if you see their facial expressions, that's my actual artwork on there. So that's pretty cool. So I think that was the secretive thing I couldn't talk about.
I think it was. So we'll try to squeeze the new secret thing that you can't talk about out of you tonight. We'll see. So yeah, I got to get what's my go-to Mighty Mug if I'm going to get one? Is it the Spider-Man? Is it the
I like the Deadpool one.
The Deadpool's hard to. Cool. It is pretty cool. I'm looking at the Deadpool now. That is pretty cool. And I'm kind of stoked because I haven't went to see. It's at the theater right now. Deadpool 2 is out. I have not went to see it yet. Any of you guys? You seen it?
I have.
Awesome.
Seen it?
Nope.
Matt? Nope. Me either.
I watched it. I liked it. It's awesome.
I can't wait to go see it. I want to go see it. I was actually watching the first one last night, and I forgot how language that movie is, but I love it still. Love it still. All right, so there is some new things going on. You've got some new projects. Well, they're being hit. So tell us a little bit about Joel. Do you want to ask this question? I think you articulates it pretty good.
Well, I think the elephant in the room is that Derek's webcomic, RuinWorld, from when did you start that, Derek? 2 years ago?
I think it was 2016.
Right. So that's been picked up by Boom Studios. This is now being published as like an official comic book. Not that it wasn't official before because it was self-published, but like it's a distributed comic, I guess is the best way to talk about it. So to kick us off, I was wondering, did Boom approach you about publishing RuinWorld, or did you have to shop the comic around to different publishers?
So I, funny enough, when I was working on it, when I started the comic, I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. I just kind of wanted to create a comic, see if I could do it. I hadn't done one on my own before. I hadn't written one before. So that was sort of how that started. And then I was about halfway through the first issue, and there was an editor from Skybound who followed me on Twitter. Really nice guy. And so I'm like, he just happened to follow me, and I'm like, hey, what if I just show him what I'm doing, kind of thing. So I reached out to him, and he liked what I was doing, but kind of said it wasn't like, I was going for the all ages kind of thing. And he said that didn't really fit with what they were doing, but he gave me praise for what I was doing, kind of gave me confidence to keep going. So that was good. And then I ended up finishing the first issue. And at this point, so if I backtrack, like in 2016, I had reached out to an editor at Boom just to do cover work, because it was at the time I was just kind of getting into my freelance career and looking to do some covers for comics. And he didn't have anything for me at the time, but sort of gave me some nice compliments, which is always great. And then it was like literally like a year later, I think almost, maybe a little more. And I reached out to him again, and I said, hey, I'm working on this comic. I'm looking for a publisher. Can you point me in the right direction? And he said, oh, that looks really cool. Like, tell me more about it and all that. And then, it was pretty much like that was kind of got the ball rolling. And my editor now, Whitney Leopard, she sort of took on the project, I guess, as like her sort of pitch project internally, because I guess that's kind of how they do it. I'm not exactly sure, but that's how she explained it to me. So they were having like a pitch meeting coming up. This was like, I think I talked to her like in May, and I think they were going to be pitching in September or something like that. And so I had to wait a little while, and then she pitched it, and it got accepted, and it was pretty much go from there. So,
and now I'm following Whitney on Twitter.
Yes.
Nice.
Love it.
That's how social media works, Brian.
Is that how that works?
No,
Whit Leopard. At Whit Leopard. Okay,
I'm gonna go do the same thing.
Do it right.
Yeah. So when I was reading up a little bit about the, I guess the press release that you had published, you'd mentioned that it was part of Boom Studios' Kaboom imprint. So I'm familiar with Boom Studios, but I didn't know anything about Kaboom imprint. So is there a difference, or is it something different than their main publishing?
It is. It's from my understanding, it's basically for their all ages line. So it kind of encompasses Adventure Time, the Steven Universe, and so it's sort of just. I think it's just another facet of what they do, and I guess they just separate it because of the all ages thing. So,
anybody want to put money on a Thundercats coming?
Ooh, right,
So now,
the new style.
Maybe
Matt,
I don't know.
You use the phrase all ages a lot, but for some of us who might not speak industry speech, like myself, what does that mean? Like, okay, it's for kids, or like?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a bit of a gray area. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's not going to be any curse words in there. It's not going to be overly violent. It'll be like cartoon violence, but it's not. I don't think it's like preschool type level or anything like that. But I'm sure, like, I'd say like you're safe with like your 8-year-old probably reading it. Like I would give it to my 6-year-old. I read it to him.
But the Laufman household is a little progressive, so just
exactly. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the all ages vibe. It's just not overly violent, and no curse words, and sort of a little tamer, I guess.
Yeah. Does it affect the writing in terms of like the vocabulary that you can use?
Yeah, a little bit. There were certain words like hell and I think even heck got edited out.
What?
Like I don't know. I mean, I guess there's maybe you guys being from the States, like religion maybe being more of a touchy thing in certain areas. And they don't want to.
Oh yeah.
They don't want to alienate anybody.
Even we can say heck.
I mean, hey. I don't know. I mean,
gosh darn it.
Right.
Yeah. Would you have to simplify any words, like as opposed to like words that are like off limits in terms of like religion or profanity and stuff like that? But I'm thinking more along the lines of like stuff that you don't necessarily want an 8-year-old to have to go to the dictionary and look that up because they don't know what it means or they can't pronounce it. Like, did you have to even dumb the storytelling down, or was it just something that kind of flowed naturally?
I think the honest answer is, Joel, I'm stupid. I don't use many big words myself, to be honest.
Right.
So I probably at that level anyway.
I've read the RuinWorld, and I'm with Derek. It's not that it's simplistic. It's just the language is approachable. It is digestible with any audience.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to use big words to tell a really good story. I mean, Stephen King does it all the time without using big words, and he can weave quite the story that gets you there without the he does go for the gross out stuff, but yeah, otherwise he's a very plain spoken author that I think is pretty good. And I remember reading RuinWorld. I already thought it was kind of it fit into that. All ages kind of topic. I read more all ages stuff than you may think. I do have the Adventure Time series that Boom Studios did, and I've been kind of going back through it over the last couple of weeks. And I'm excited to see there is actually a new series, The Beginning of the End or something. It's got some really different art style from what I was seeing. I'm pretty excited about that. Man, Boom Studios, man. They just
it is funny how
stuff.
If a story is like initially made for kids, if it's done well enough, like grown-ups can usually enjoy it just as much.
Absolutely.
Well, the interesting thing is too, like for me, like I did it with adults in mind. I just wrote it at like kind of my level, I guess you could say. So, maybe that's the formula. You just need somebody who's not overly intelligent, and then they'll leave out all the big words.
I prefer approachable. I wouldn't say I would
accessible.
Yeah. Accessible. That's a good word too.
Yeah, I'll start using that. Instead of beating myself down.
Right.
I think that's the kind of the magic of like Pixar or Disney movies too, right? It's like there's something for adults, there's something for kids. Everybody gets something out of it, which is cool because then if your kid wants to read this comic and you're like, well, as a parent, I should at least be familiar with what they're reading. If you're enjoying it too, then the conversation at the dinner table is like you and your son or daughter just geeking out over RuinWorld as opposed to just you pretending,
Yes.
right?
Right.
You know, you really pronounce the Ruin World, whereas I kind of almost go into a Ruin World when I say it, don't I? I noticed that.
Both works.
Yeah, but it's more proper to say Ruin World. I also have noticed something odd this
self coming
episode.
out.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't want Joel to get self-conscious. Joel don't get self-conscious. I'm just saying the boots and sorries are a little heavier tonight. I think it's because we have Derek, who has a little bit of that twang himself. So that's great. So no, I love it because it's such a comfortable thing, and I don't always get comfortable Joel, and I'm enjoying comfortable Joel.
Someday we'll have to do the regional accents episode.
Oh my gosh, yeah, just
and we'll have to play up our accents.
dig in deep. Oh man,
Yeah,
you don't
Matthew, I'm not hearing a Boston accent. Let's hear it.
right. Bring it out. Bring it out.
Yeah, I can go have a beer this weekend.
Oh
With my
man,
pals go down to the bar.
right.
Nice.
All my Southern impressions are laced with profanity, so I don't know if I could really get. Don't know if I could really get in there without the
Too many hex.
profanity. Yeah, heck yeah. It's like I could just. Oh, it's a lot of f-bombs in this part of the country. But you did something, Derek, this time around. With you have boom studios behind you. I noticed that this release it has a trailer, and it's not just some kind of here's a screen grab of the one of the pages and let us slide over top of the comic, and it's actually full motion animated trailer. So how involved were you in the creation process of that? Tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, I got really lucky. So Curtis Rio, I believe. Joel, do you know him?
I do actually. Yeah, he said to say hi.
How do you pronounce his last name?
I would say Ryu would be.
Ryu. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
French would be my guess. Yeah.
right. So Curtis reached out to me because his studio Stellar Boar at the time was looking to do some portfolio pieces, just to kind of like boost up his sort of portfolio. And so he had reached out to me and just said he was a fan of RuinWorld, and I just had it online at the time. And he asked if he could use the characters and create something. And we kind of talked about maybe a scene he could use from the comic itself that I was working on. And so he picked sort of the scene where Pogo's running out of the keep, and the keep explodes, and big tentacle monster comes and attacks them. So, and then that was kind of how we started, and it was just going to be a portfolio piece for him, and I didn't really know how I would use that later. And he was just doing it in his spare time over like the course of maybe like a year. And it was just probably, he was wrapping it up about 2 months ago, and then we were still finalizing a few details, like the final logo design for RuinWorld and stuff like that. So I said, just hold off. I'll get you the final logo and everything when we get closer to the time when it was going to be released. And so it just kind of worked out. Like the timing of it was perfect. I gave him the logo like a couple weeks ago, and then he sent me the final draft just like a couple days ago, and I presented it to Boom, and I said, hey guys, by the way, I happen to have this animated trailer for us. And they were excited, and we just decided to use it. So the timing just worked out perfectly.
That's great.
And I
That's
couldn't
great,
be happy.
yeah.
So I just got really lucky.
Well, hint, Boom. They should get Curtis to do more promos for some of their other stuff. If people are interested, you can follow Curtis. He's an artist and animator, obviously, and you can follow him at Curtis Ryu on Instagram, and it's RIOUX is his last name. I tabled next to Curtis at the East Coast Comic Expo 3 years ago, I think. So we were table neighbors, and then he worked in the industry here in Halifax for a while. I think he might be in Newfoundland now. But he was a local animator, and I would see him at all the different shows, just kind of bopping around different events, that sort of thing. But really talented guy. I always, when people, like, I've always thought of him as, like, he's a showrunner in the body of an animator. Like, the guy just has so many ideas.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Joel?
And Joel's dead.
No?
Okay, sorry. I think I glitched for a second, and then I lost everybody, and so now I'm back. So it's good. It's good. Oh, just about crap my pants, but it's good. But no, yes. Curtis's work was so much fun. Matt, what you saying?
I'm saying that's a good one to get the listeners to check their setup too. Like, wait a second, something loose.
Are they still there? Hello? No.
Everybody's
My
banging on
connection
stuff.
good? What's going on?
You just edit that in post.
Heck no, we like to keep that junk in the mix.
Brian doesn't edit anything, Derek, by the way. Just FYI.
Lengthen out that pause.
Yeah,
if anything.
my greatest compliment is, man, you got that out fast. And I think they usually go, man, you didn't edit that at all. You just because that's what I do.
Well, and it's something I think too that happens the longer that you podcast, and people have the mistake of thinking that, oh, you've been podcasting for a while, you must be so good at it that you don't have to edit. It's like, nope, I'm just so sick of editing that I don't want to bother. I do that with my other shows too. It's like, nope, I completely screwed up the outro for that. It's only the 312th time that I've done it. Screw it. It's going to stay that way. Who cares?
Plus this podcast, especially this podcast, is always lend itself to a roundtable discussion, and I like to imagine that our listeners are listening along and actually are yelling at their devices, either in joy or pain about the things we're saying. And I think when you remove those, those breaths and those pauses, I think you lose that. I think you don't feel like you're actually a part of it as much. That's just my opinion.
I think you're right, because I've listened to a number of podcasts from people that I'm fans of, but they're produced podcasts that are associated with networks or larger programs, and I don't like them. They're too edited. Like they feel like I'm just listening to a really crummy extended cable news show.
Right.
Whereas with podcasts that are off the cuff and they have little quips and blips, it just feels a little bit more like you're a fly on the wall as opposed to just listening to something that's been heavily edited and produced.
Absolutely.
But speaking of editing, Derek, you mentioned that you had an editor, but you are writing and drawing RuinWorld yourself, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a benefit to being able to do both, or would you prefer to work with a writer or a team on a project like this?
I've really enjoyed the process. I was terrified at the beginning because I'd never really written a comic before, but as I've gotten into it and in the 4th issue now, I think it just allows me to have that creative freedom, like, because I can, make edits on the fly and change the dialogue and change what's going to happen, and I can just pretty much like do that editing process like right there while I'm working. And I think that's beneficial. If I had a final script, it would be a lot of back and forth. If I, and I probably wouldn't feel necessarily like confident to tell a writer to change something or, but when it's yourself, you can just do whatever you want. So I think that's where it comes in handy. It's just the freedom.
A lot of self-editing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So not to backtrack too much, because I know we kind of had that little thing where I couldn't hear you. So when you were working with Curtis on the trailer, did you send him any additional work, or was that something he just did outside himself, or did you get to have any feedback on that? Or
we did a little bit of back and forth, just like he was showing me rough cuts, and I made a few little notes, like maybe, hey, let's time it like this, or maybe add this bit in. It was pretty much all him, though. Like I'd say, nice. Like 99% of it.
No, what about your character design? Whatever.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like he took the ball and ran with it, and he did an awesome job.
He did a great job. Yeah. Joel, back to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to backtrack on that.
Well, actually, no, it's good, because I meant to ask something earlier and I forgot. Derek, remind me, do you have animation background? Like, did you work in animation?
I haven't worked in animation. I did study animation, classical animation.
Right. Okay.
I think it was 18 years ago. So yeah, it's been a while. But so I do have a background. I've animated for like video games and things like that. But not on a show.
That's what I'm remembering. Yeah, because you've done. I can't remember the name of it, but it was because it's in your art book. A lot of the concept. Bullet Age. That's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, so stuff like that. I just, because I knew there was animation somewhere, but
funny enough, that game, like, it's actually apparently going to be coming out, and I don't know if we want to talk about it on this podcast, but maybe
I do. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, so the game was kind of dead in the water. Our company Halfbot was just two of us, me and my friend Melvin, who did the programming side. And it was just financially not working for us. we were getting too stressed out. It was just hard. It was hard to be an indie developer.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't making any money. And so we sort of had put all this like work into Bullet Age, but it wasn't ready to be released. And but we had to kind of make the hard decision to say, let's just stop. And anyway, our friends at Live Games, we'd sort of met them through channels or whatever when we were indie developers, and they approached us and said, "Hey, what's going on with that game?" Because we had sort of posted some stuff online and we were trying to get hype up for it while we were developing it. So yeah, they just basically said, like, "Are you interested in having us finish it?" And so that was just something we worked out, and they've been doing an awesome job. Like they've been working on it for about 8 months now, and I don't want to say exactly when it's going to come out or how yet, but that's all I can say. I guess that'll be my secret.
Right, and if you want, right, keep that for next time. And if you're interested, you can go to artofbulletage.tumblr.com and just see how fantastic and excited you should be about this game. And all the E3 stuff. I'm just so hyped for all the games right now. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's killing me. So Bullet Age, do it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see like the work that we did, the hard work we did, like sort of, grow and become like what it was meant to be, and having this awesome team kind of come in and pick up the ball and run with it is pretty amazing. So yeah, it's a lot of good luck coming my way.
Yeah,
I guess, with people helping, and it's like, I don't know. It's pretty awesome.
Don't think it luck. It's not luck. It's great talent. Attracts other talent, and you've done so far. You've made some good picks, and so hey, keep moving forward, man. You'll be an empire before you know it.
It's a funny idea, but I don't know why it's never crossed my mind. But you see and hear about indie developers, or this game was all made by one person or two people or something like that, and I'm wondering how often you don't hear about it, but putting all that work and all that time into developing what is essentially like a really detailed pitch package for a game, and then instead of trying to just do it all yourself, shopping it around. Does that happen often? Like, I'm not that into the gaming scene to know, but if it did, you'd think it would happen more often.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can. I mean, you could certainly pitch it to like say a Devolver Digital,
yes.
They're pretty big with like indie developers and stuff like that, who can help sort of finance or get you over the finish line, because sometimes you get to that point, and that's really only like the halfway point, or maybe 40%. There's so much work to actually finishing a game. Like, that's the thing a lot of developers don't quite realize, especially the newer ones, is how much work it is after you get to a point where you're like, hey, I got a game, and it's not really a game yet, like you think it is, but it's not, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that needs to go into it. So I mean, at that stage though, yeah, certainly you can start to shop it around, but the sort of industry, all the publishers kind of went away, and they're starting to come back a little bit here, like Devolver, but yeah, I think now there's not a lot of publishers out there anymore, so you just sort of have to, maybe somebody, it's a way. Right. Of course, there's always a way, but
everybody's self-publishing now, right? I mean, that's what everybody's doing.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's the thing. It is easy enough to self-publish nowadays, so
I
think that's where most people end up going.
Well, I tell you, Devolver, that's one of my favorites. I'm always watching I go to the Humble Bundle and the Indie Gala and just different all these indie distribution places, and I'm always throwing $8-10 at those people and saying, here, give me what you got, and I'll throw them. I got like so many keys for stuff. It's
and how many of those games do you actually play, Brian?
It's freaking ridiculous. It's insane. My Steam library is well over 400, almost 500.
Oh my god!
I'm almost at 500. I'm almost at 500 games now. Of course, I do a video game podcast as well called The Boop Show on Mondays with Scott Johnson, but I'm also a little bit of a game hoarder. I have problems.
Digital hoarder, yeah. I have that. I have that problem with art books. I'm not allowed to buy any more because I haven't read the ones that I have.
I like that you're not allowed. So, Joel, is that self-imposed or is that someone?
It's self-imposed for budget reasons. The only time I let myself go outside of that is if it's a Kickstarter, and it's like, okay, well, if I don't buy it now, then it's either going to be harder to get later, or for the sake of an extra $5, I can get it signed or something, like get a package, something like that.
Right.
And then it also isn't, well, twofold. One, I like supporting Kickstarters, especially for art stuff. But then on the flip side, that book won't arrive for another year, give or take. So I have time to finish what I have started before it arrives.
Derek,
in theory, I say looking at 3 Kickstarter boxes on my coffee table right now.
Derek,
they all come at once.
Derek, what have you banned yourself from? Is it the Mighty Mugs? What do you?
Well, you know what it was? It was similar, kind of the competitor. Funko Pops.
Yes.
So I was huge into Funko Pops. I had I'd say 350.
Oh wow, you're a junkie.
Yeah, but I was. But then I ran out of space, and then once I ran out of space, I kind of lost interest. It was weird. So my wife has been selling them off on eBay.
Right.
And I think I've sold half my collection already.
That's great.
And it's funny. I made a lot more money than I ever thought I would because they're hot and a lot of them are worth $50, $100. So
wow,
really? Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is such
there's a new documentary on Netflix about Funko.
Right. Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
See, me either. That stuff that's just so amazing because literally. You buy them and you leave them in the box. You literally just buy them to put them on a shelf, and then when you get to a certain degree, like you say, you just start selling them. I get the same way. I probably still have maybe 40 or 50 myself, but I've gotten rid of most of them, and it's just from just giving them away. I was just like, hey kid, you like this? Hey, take this with you. But now I'm thinking I'm just giving money away. Now I've got to go back and
some of those might be worth a lot of money.
Now
I have a lino that's worth $350, and I'd accidentally bought 2 of him when I was first coming out, just because I was collecting so rapidly. I didn't realize I had already bought them, so I bought them again, and now I got 2 of them. And so you never know.
That is wild.
Check your pricing.
Wow. Right.
What's the retail? What's the retail on a Funko Pop?
$10.
Yeah.
15.
Wow. Okay.
5 on clearance. Right. If you go to GameStop any day of the week. Come on. Hey, Matt, what are you into? Do you have to stop by in Canadian nickels? What did you have to give up? I know something.
Well, a lot of stuff. I in general just put myself on a ban of buying things.
Nice.
Because I realized a lot of it I totally didn't need.
Oh, I hear that. Oh, poor Matt. Somebody send Matt something fun.
No, send me nothing. I like it.
On something.
I'm sending Matt something fun.
I feel like I'm just gonna box up some of my stuff.
I am. I was just sitting here thinking. I was thinking.
To Matt,
I've got a glow in the dark Yoda over here. It's a Funko Pop. I'm thinking that would look good on Matt's shelf of bareness. I can just imagine this all the bareness in Matt's. Nah, don't do it. I'll just keep it then. Fine.
Before we get completely off the rails, for people that are interested in reading RuinWorld, Derek, can people still read it online?
Yeah, they can. If you go to RuinWorldComic.com, I still have the first original 13 pages up there. They've been slightly edited and since that incarnation, but it's pretty much the same. So yeah, if you want to get a taste of it, that's a good little jump into it. They also have preview pages on Boom's website right now. If you went to boomstudios.com/series/RuinWorld, you'll see a 6-page preview there too. And so at least gives people a chance to get into and see if it's something they'd be into.
Now, I
think 13 pages is. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if I'm wanting to pick this up, how? I'm on Boom Studios. Do I just? Is it a pre-order thing? What is it? Wait a second.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, so up until the 18th, you got 4 days from now. So if it gets published tomorrow, this thing, 3 days, I guess, to go in pre-order. I'm learning. I'm new to this whole comic book industry, and I'm learning how important it is for people to pre-order at their comic book store, for the life of the comic, I guess, and how successful it can be out of the gate. It's so important to get those pre-orders up there.
Yep.
And so I'm sort of trying not to spam my social media all the time, but trying to encourage people to go to the local comic book shop and ask them to order for them. So yeah, if you go to that boomstudios.com and search for RuinWorld, you'll see they have a a comic locator app that sort of tells you like what comic shops in your area. And I think that works for like anywhere pretty much in the world. You can go and check, and then you give them the diamond code for the book, and which I don't know off the top of my head, but if you give them the diamond codes, and you can pre-order actually the second issue as well. It's already been released in Diamond's previews magazine. So
that's awesome.
Should pre-order both. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just looked for comic book shops near me. Let's see. Memphis, Tennessee. For those who don't know,
really?
That's a long way away from me. It makes me sad. It makes me super sad. I think there actually is a comic book shop closer than that. I just don't know if maybe they're not listed on this site. But yeah, it's a good.
Are they maybe more than just a comic book shop? So they're maybe not listed. Like if they're like a toy collectible. Comic
maybe so. I don't know. It makes me super sad. I don't want to get too deep into that because it makes me super sad. There's not. We used to have 2 in town, and that's been like 20 years ago since we've had a proper comic book shop in my town. Sad. So sad. So I'm just going to buy it online. Haha.
Do it.
Sorry, suckers. Boom. Ordered.
Now, I think online, Derek, you have the diamond code for issue number 1, as well as the variant cover from Sean Galloway,
yes.
I think.
Yes.
Do you have the diamond code for issue number 2? Because if you send it to us, then Brian could maybe include it in the show notes for the episode.
Oh yes.
Yes, I do have it.
We're making
cool.
We're making some.
Yeah, just send us an email after. Brian will
for sure.
make magic happen.
We're driving some web cartoonist exclusive readers who are like, Diamond Code, what is that? Look, it's an industry-wide comic book catalog basically, and you get a little diamond code, and it's the standard. And you get a code, and that's how you order the comic. So you go in your comic book shop and you go, here's the diamond code, and they know what you're talking about. They better know what you're talking about.
Well, I've heard a rumor that Diamond is working on like an app where you can order for your shop through the app and not have to like call them. So that's hopefully coming in the future, because that would be really handy. I think, especially in this day and age, nobody wants to leave their house.
Right.
You know?
I don't mind driving to pick it up, but come on. Let me order it.
Exactly.
Let me order it online at least.
You got to make it easier.
I'm lazy. But Joel knows that. Right, Joel?
This is true.
It is true. It is true.
So in addition to RuinWorld coming out, earlier this year, Derek, you had done a Kickstarter of Art Book number 1, which is an older book that you did, but it was an XL edition. And it was a really successful Kickstarter, but I was wondering like what kind of prompted you to go Kickstarter? Because if I'm remembering correctly, I think you just straight up self-published your other sketchbooks.
Yeah, that was what I did before. Well, part of it was talking to you, Joel. I think that definitely helped getting more feedback from people. I was terrified of Kickstarter.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize I had a part in this. This is awesome.
For sure. So, and I think it was just talking to people that had some success with it, and was able to sort of pick their brain, and that was very helpful that you were able to lend that information to me, and so graciously. So, and I think that's just sort of I was just apprehensive about, could I deliver the project that I wanted to deliver? Were people going to get mad at me if I couldn't? Those kind of fears that were there. And for Art Book 1, the XL edition, basically it came down to I had already first done my first art book was only a smaller size. It was I can't remember the size now. I think it was like 5.5 inches by 7.5 inches.
Something like that, yeah.
And
I have them both.
Right, yeah, and it was only 48 pages, and I had printed it locally here in London, Ontario, and only printed like a small run of them. It was my first art book, and I didn't know if anybody was willing to buy my art books or not at the time, and but that was all I could kind of afford, and I was doing it all out of pocket because I was scared to go to Kickstarter. But it was successful, and I sold out of those, and that was great. And then when I did my second book, because I had sold out the first one, I had more confidence to go and do a bigger 100-page, like 7.5 by 10-inch book. That book sold well too. And then I thought, well, I kind of want both my art books to fit nicely on a shelf together and be the same. Like I kind of wanted that first art book to be what I was able to do with my second art book. So I just had this idea, and I was really busy this year this past year with freelance work, and I didn't have a lot of like time to put together like a whole entire new book. So I just thought I could gather 52 new pages of content and maybe put it together with the old book and then make the big version I always kind of wish I had for that first book. And I kind of reached out to people online and said, is this something people would be interested in doing? And I had a lot of people that bought the first one saying I would totally support another version, which was awesome. And I didn't get a single person being angry that I redid the book essentially and beefed it up. And the Kickstarter ended up being really successful. And yeah, it was great sort of experience overall. And I think it helped too. I had the book finished, so those fears of could I get it finished or whatever, that wasn't there because the book was done. It was ready to send to a printer. I just kind of needed the money up front and to know people wanted to buy it. So yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah, it's nice when you can go into a project, especially like your first Kickstarter where it's something that you're adding to a previous book, but so you're not starting from complete scratch, like you had a springboard and then you're able to get in there and have something kind of completed before you go. I'm always on the fence about Kickstarters where people are essentially just kind of kickstarting for the printing. Not criticizing, just kind of like a lot of times I want to find the person that really is like, look, I have this idea. It's a solid idea, and here's a pitch for it. But in order to complete it, I really need Kickstarter's help. And I tend to back those books before I back someone's like, well, this is already finished. It's just a matter of raising the capital for the printing. And it depends because I've seen some other Kickstarters where you kind of know something's up. Well, I mean, yours was not this case. You looked at the amount of money that you needed to print it, knowing the kind of run that you were doing. I was like, yeah, no, that's about right. But I've seen other artists where that they're super popular and they're doing a Kickstarter for like $2,000, $3,000. It's like, but these guys have to be planning on printing tens of thousands of copies. Why are they kickstarting 5,000?
Right.
Because well, it's a bit of gaming the system in terms of like, oh, you're 2,000% funded. And it's like, well, of course you are, is because you could have just done this yourself, but you decided to use Kickstarter. And I think that kind of stuff, I'm just like, well, I'd rather support the underdog like Derek, and because right. I have it. I got the Kickstarter and I got which poster came with it? Was it the Star Wars one?
No, it was Demogorgon or which one?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, the Demogorgon. Yeah. You're right. So I have the Star Wars one because you sent us that. That's right.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, speaking on that point, Joel, because I've done both sides of it now, I've self-published the whole entire thing myself with Artbook 2 being a comparable. I was able to get the reach probably 3 times the reach I was able to get on my own through Kickstarter. So there was something to be said about going through Kickstarter and getting that extra exposure. So I think that's probably why you see people doing that, even though they don't necessarily need it for the funding itself. They need it for the promotion, because that seems to be what Kickstarter has become, this promotional powerhouse. And it's almost like you said, it is gaming the system a little bit, because what Kickstarter was originally intended to be was help me fund this thing that I could not do otherwise.
Yeah.
But given the state of sort of the social media and trying to get as many eyeballs on your project as possible and to make it as successful as possible, I guess that's why people will turn to Kickstarter. And to be honest, I'll probably do it again for my next art book now, knowing I was able to reach a bigger audience and get the book
absolutely.
in my hands. So
yeah, and I think too that it's in the hands of the independent creator. It's kind of whatever you want to do. I always just find it different when you've got big companies that are doing Kickstarters and stuff like that. You're like, what? But really? Why?
Well, there you go. It's purely for marketing purposes.
And I have to say that knowing what I know about Kickstarter from my work with Forge Publishing, and there is a certain percentage. I want to say it's in the 15% range. It might be a little bit higher, of people that do not know Forge or the artist I work with, or you, Derek, or any of the work that exists on Kickstarter. They come to it because they're following Kickstarters, not because they previously were following your work. So there is this increase in people that had never heard of you that are like, oh crap, this is right up my alley. And because they're watching art books or they're watching certain, lists and they're getting I get the Kickstarter newsletter in terms of what's new. I don't necessarily click on everything, but there's certainly some projects that I find really interesting and stuff like that I don't think I think I did back one. I think I backed a board game, Unstable Unicorns. I think I backed that on Kickstarter
really?
because it was in the newsletter. I would have never found out about it otherwise because I'm not a big tabletop guy, but I mean I like them. But I found that through the newsletter. So I can see the ebb and flow of all of it. Given that this was your first Kickstarter, and you came into it kind of like at a mature time in Kickstarter's kind of existence in terms of people know what it is. You had some fears about it. What would be some advice that you would give someone looking to publish or self-publish a book using Kickstarter?
I would say like research, like, you know, like talking to people that have done it before, like I did with you. And I think it's just trying to minimize those pitfalls, like how you're going to set up, you know, your tiers and what that's going to look like, and really plan it out. And then also find out all your costs first, like from everything from shipping, like literally get a shipping scale and like try to get like the same weight and like know what the weight's going to be, figure out all those costs, because you'll like have a huge like surprise when you find out how much it actually costs to ship something to overseas. Or you know, we at least, like, because we had like sold prints through my online store, my wife like handles all that stuff, and so I kind of had an expert, like, you know, to in her to help me kind of like figure out all those costs up front. And you know, but I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know that, you know, those pitfalls, and you can get yourself in a lot of trouble financially if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you and I both being Canadian. For any Canadians out there listening, it is a different ballgame in Canada than in the States when you're trying to ship something.
Literally.
So yeah, so because it's ridiculous. Like for me to ship a book in the U.S. from a U.S. distributor to a U.S. address, it's like $6 to $8. It's twice that in Canada. It's like minimum 15.
Yeah.
Because I just sent one out west, and it was like $17 to send a hardcover book to Edmonton, like Banana Town. And
so you heard it here. Evington is Banana Town.
I appreciate the kind words, Derek, but I have to tip my hat, because when I did my Kickstarters, there was a certain individual that I picked his brain, and that's Dave Michael from Sales Geek. And in terms of like getting a scale and weighing all that kind of stuff, I would also suggest that you could look up a fulfillment house, or especially a smaller fulfillment house like Sales Geek, because then you don't have to worry about the enormous time sink of then boxing and mailing and doing all that kind of stuff. If you have a very successful Kickstarter, like it's great if you can handle it. It's great if you have a spouse or someone that can help you out with it, if you can make it like a family business. But for me, I knew from self-publishing my own comic book years ago that if any of the books that I work on with Forge do well, then I don't want to be up to my ears in shipping 500 books. Like it's just not how I want to spend my day. And I cannot plug Dave Michael's services at Sales Geek enough, because he's saved my bacon in terms of just the knowledge that he brings in terms of what ships with what and where and what the prices are. And it's phenomenal stuff. And there's a lot of resources out there, I think, that complement Kickstarter. And it's becoming easier and easier, like you said earlier, Derek, for smaller independent artists to really do, I don't want to say big things, but kind of mimic things that are done at scale still at a high quality. Yeah. Now, I think you said you mentioned you printed it in Canada as well.
I did, yeah. I printed out of Montreal. Marquise Printing, I should give them a shout out. They're amazing. Their pricing is competitive. I think they were cheaper than when I got quotes from Print Ninja originally.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and also being in Canada, it's nice to have something that's Canadian made, and you know, so it's yeah, they've been great to work with, and I did my first printing of RuinWorld through them as well, so they do comics. And yeah, it's just been a great experience.
Nice. Interesting. I haven't looked into any Canadian printers. I've printed in the States before. I've been looking into Chinese printers, but it's one of those things where like the printing is cheaper, but then you have to look at your production calendar, and it literally adds 6 months.
Yeah. Well, this is the good thing about Marquise. Like Marquise turnaround was like 3 weeks.
Wow,
so, that's amazing.
Like,
So I could have the books like in my hand in 3 weeks, like it was crazy. So
have you heard of slow boat from China there, Joel? Because that's a slow boat from China, my friend. That's exactly what those things are.
Yeah. Well, I'm not necessarily saying like the one-time shipment. I mean, like, they print the proof, they ship the proof. Right. Even if that's just an airmail thing, that still takes 3 or 4 weeks to get to. Absolutely. Then if you have to change anything, you have to get another proof. Like, I mean, just in terms of the entire production process. But
I do want to pat myself on the back for Kickstarter a little bit, and mainly due to my wife. I think like one of the things I was able to do was actually like deliver ahead of time on my Kickstarter.
Yes,
because I put out like June for delivery, and but because I didn't know what kind of pitfalls there were going to be, but because we sort of planned well and everything, I was able to get everything out sooner, and I got a lot of people shocked that they're actually getting
that is such a great surprise and a good way for me to go, I'm going to do that ride again.
Yeah, it's a good lesson too in terms of like if you think like, hey, I think I could deliver this by December. Tell everyone you can deliver it 4 or 5 months later than that. Right. So then when you do deliver, earlier than everybody else thinks, then you're just blowing everybody out of the water. Like it's one of those things where like I think I was listening to a podcast with Will Terry about illustration, and he kind of let it slip. He just kind of let it slip. He's like, I never tell my editor exactly where I am with my work.
Like, Skippy.
I'm always ahead, but I never let them know I'm ahead. It's like that is smart.
Because that expectations, man, that's what life's all about. Yep. And when people have some and you set them out here, you say, nope, further back. Good job. All right. Hey, by the way, Joel, you had talked about David Michael. He is a great friend of the show, friend of mine. Yes. I've ridden many times all the way out to Utah in the same car with him, delivering this stuff to Nerdtacular. You can follow him on Twitter at SalesGeekery. And he'll be glad to talk to you about getting your project off the ground. Hey, Joel, there's one more question. Can I ask it? Can I ask your question?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Pete, did we discuss if we can still get our hands on the Art Book 1 XL edition, Derek? And if so,
yes, you can. DerekLaufman.com. It's for sale right now.
Excellent. I got to pick that up, Matt. I did enjoy hearing your chuckles and your talking to this time. I missed you so much, Matt. But you're here at the end of the show, as always, with your holster full of last question. Give it to us.
Yes, indeed. So, what artists are you currently following, Derek, that our listeners really should be following too?
Oh my. Let's see. So Sean Galloway, who did my variant cover, I have to give him a shout out. He's amazing. And he was very gracious to do my variant cover for me. It was, it meant a lot. So definitely follow him, Sean Galloway, Sean Cheeks Galloway, as he's also known. Hey. And let's see.
Following Sean
there's so many. John Sumbariva is really awesome. I have his turtle stickers on my Cintiq right now. I'm staring at them.
On the backside, right? Not, or on the top? Not on the actual...
on the sides, I have a wide, like I have the 27-inch. So I have like a 3-inch sort of border around the outside. So I have a bunch of stickers from him there. So
nice.
Yeah, those two guys I'll shout out. Definitely follow them. But pretty much anybody I follow, I pretty much follow artists. So if you go look at who I'm following, follow those people.
That's a good
idea. That's what I do. I go and check out artists I like, and I see who they're following, and then I start following those people.
I do the same thing. I go down that little. Oh my gosh, I follow so many people on Twitter. Sometimes I gotta stop it. I gotta back off. Don't worry. They always cull the herd by a bunch of morons posting a bunch of stuff that is a bunch of junk, and I go, oh, they also post that. Unfollow. So when I'm purchasing, so I'm on Boom Studios, and I'm just one last plug for this, for the RuinWorld. If you can get to your local comic shop, do try to get it through the local places if you can, because you don't want them to go away. Trust me, I live where they went away, and I have to do this instead. I'm on the Boom Studios website, and I'm looking. Do I want to get the RuinWorld #1 with your cover, or do I want the Galloway cover, or do I want to just get the whole big giant book for $15.96?
Yeah, get both.
Get both. That's right. It's on you would say that. Why do you even ask? Typical salesman.
Get a couple. You know what? You don't get 2 of each, because then if you come see me at a convention,
that's
I can
true.
sign one.
All right.
And you keep the other one, and just for reading.
Boop, and done. Ship my stuff and let it be here. Say tomorrow. Don't say 2 months. I don't buy your timelines anymore, Derek. I'm not buying them anymore.
Well, the book will come out July 11th in stores. So yeah,
that's right around the corner. That's not bad.
That's
not bad. So Derek, give us all the great places that people can visit you on the internet.
You pretty much just want to go to DerekLaufman.com, and that has everything about me there. Social media,
excellent, stores,
all that stuff.
Perfect, Derek. Thank you so much for returning one more time for the third time. It's been fun. I look forward to our next interview next May or June possibly. Hopefully I'll have I wanted to say bullet time, but it's not bullet time.
Bullet age.
Bullet age. Bullet time's the Matrix. You don't want that. That's trash.
Maybe we'll be talking about the graphic novel for RuinWorld at that time.
Yes, please do that. Also, thank you, Joel Duggan of Starcrawl Still Online. I'll see you in May.
Well, maybe you might even see me in a couple of weeks because we've got another guest booked. It's not going to be next week. We're currently still trying to fill that spot, but on June 28th, we're going to be talking to Anthony Coffey. That's Coffey.
Yes,
he's amazing.
Yeah, he's really, really fun, and he does sculptures of his work, which I think is really unique. We've not talked to many sculptors on the store. Yeah, so that's AnthonyCoffey.com for his work. So come back and check that out next time. And for me, just my name on social media and .com, all that kind of stuff. It's an easy place to find me. And if you want to hear more about Deadpool, I talked about it last night on the Citadel Cafe with my friend Lou. He loved it. I did not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So go listen to that. Tell me what you think. Yeah.
Now you got my curiosity. Now I got to go find out. Matt, how are you?
Yes.
Where can we visit you?
Best place to see my work is on YouTube. Just do a search for Matthew Ducharme or Matt the Watt.
Excellent. You can follow everything I do at the Brian Dunaway on Twitter, or go to my website, briandunaway.com. I do things. I do other podcasts. I don't know what I do. Be honest with you, I'm just really tired. You ever feel like that? Just really tired. Go. Everything we do is on comicscoasttocoast.com. There's over 331 episodes of goodness all the way back 11 years worth. Back when I was fatter and I sounded more like this when I was on the show because all the fat was pushing my tongue around. It was not good. That's it. That's all I can think of. Support us on Patreon. We have a patreon.com/comicsc2c. If you have questions or you'd like us to interview an animator, an illustrator, a cartoonist, anybody who really creates something, animation, any type of creative arts, we'll interview them. We'll try to anyway. Guys at comicscoasttocoast.com. That's where you can send the email. That's it. We'll see you guys next week.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
And you wanted to edit stuff.
for a hot minute at the end there,
Right.
when you went Matt, and he just went yes, I thought he was just gonna leave it right there. I thought he was just like he wasn't gonna take the cue. He was just gonna like throw it back at you.